Does the concept of good debt even really exist? Let's talk about it. So when I got started in real estate, I didn't care about how much debt. I just cared about appreciation and cash flow. So if I could buy a property for $200,000 and then I see that it's going up in value and the tenants are paying for the mortgage plus some where I'm making money every month, I didn't really care about how much money I was borrowing. I never really considered the downsides, to be honest. One of the biggest benefits of real estate investing is that you can borrow so much money to gain a very high valued asset. On an FHA loan on a multifamily property, I could put only $17,500 down and acquire a property that is $500,000 in value. And so I understand when people say mortgage debt is good debt if it's on a good asset that is cash flowing and is going up in value. Those two assumptions are a bit dangerous. Number one, appreciation. Everyone's assuming that properties are going to always go up in value. And that's true if you look at it on a long enough time span. But in short windows of time, that's not true. And I get worried because people are getting high off of the idea of buying property because if you bought property in 2020, they might have gone up 50% in the last 4 or 5 years. And so if you think that trend is going to continue, I think you're gambling. Another assumption is really the underestimate of the cost of ownership for real estate. Even if you have a realistic repair estimate or budget it every month for that property, all you need is to have to get a new roof that's $15,000 or $20,000 and you don't have that money. And now your good debt has become a really bad problem. And of course, if you're an investor, you should have money in reserves. But a lot of people that are getting into real estate don't consider these things. And that's why I urge some caution. Another downside to the good debt argument, it's just the psychological factor of carrying a lot of debt, even if it is mortgage debt or good debt. Because regardless of what happens, you're still responsible for making all those mortgage payments. And the more debt you have, the more of a psychological burden that can be. And look, I get it for you guys being critical of this. I've had these same thoughts like, who cares about that? You just need to be reasonable, make sure you have reserves, and make sure you buy right where your property is cash flowing enough. Plus, once you have multiple properties, you're protected because if you have a vacancy here, this other property will be able to cover for it. But this is a lot of thinking. And again, there's assumptions because what if your vacancy rate goes even higher? And even if you're buying for your own personal residence and you think, who cares about how much the total mortgage is because I have a good job, I'm able to pay my mortgage payments. That's a 30-year commitment to that payment. And it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in your life in 30 years. The burden of that mortgage could become heavier if you lose your job, you get injured, family issues, and maybe you're able to pay for everything, but the added stress and burden of having that mortgage, even though it's good debt, could be negative to you overall. Debt basically equals risk, and we all have different risk tolerance, but my main concern is to not make mortgage debt is not bad, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's good. I think it can get your foot in the door into ownership, and there's plenty of ways to leverage it to make money. But I think you have to be responsible and be very careful about the assumptions that you make because adding all that risk could be really bad for you. So I think people need to be careful about the language that they use when they say mortgage debt is good. What do you guys think? Do you guys think mortgage debt is okay to have? How much should you have? Do you think all debt is bad? Are you in the Dave Ramsey camp? Or are you in the Grant Cardone camp where you think cash is trash? Let me know. Let's have a conversation in the comments. See you guys later.